Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
You look amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome or welcome back to So Floor, the official gathering place for newbies, novices, and OG diehard fans of the golden age of prime time. I'm your host, Jed, viewing and reviewing the soapiest, sexiest primetime trial of 1984 or 85. So whether you're new to this or true to this, sit back and enjoy. Tell the kids it's time to play outside or outside. Tell babe no questions, suggestions, or concerns for the next 25 to 35 minutes. Everyone else in earshot, you can be cool, you can be quiet, or you can be kicked out because we are watching our stories. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is So Floor. Welcome back to another fun home edition of So Floor. I hope your day is shaping up well. I am absolutely on the edge of my seat for the trial of the century. Well, not even close. So what y'all up to? What are y'all doing today? No matter what it is, I hope you are safe. I hope you are enjoying your time, and I hope you are ready to get into this episode of Falcon Crest. I know what you're saying, Jet. Didn't we just do Falcon Crest? Yes, we did, but somebody was a little bit overzealous with the episodes this season. So we're going to have to double and triple these up just a little bit so that we can have the season finales all at the same time. That is my total goal. I want to jump into a little bit of fan mail before we get into the episode today. You guys have been super helpful, super vocal, whether or not to go to South Fork. A couple of other opinions about the male pageant. I haven't seen that in a while. Listen, I'm here for it. Go ahead and pour yourself up something bubbly and bright as we jump into season 4, episode 23 of Falcon Crest, The Trial. I've said it once, I've said it 100,000 times. They are not interested in being original with these titles. Also not original with the stories. I'm like, when was the last time we had a trial on this particular soap opera? Is this not trial at least number 3 or so? Every season, it seems like somebody's going to court and behind something. I remember a while back, like a long time ago, someone told me that Dallas and Falcon Crest often shared writers, like they just kind of flip-flop back and forth between each other. I can see that. Falcon Crest coming in as a final leg, it lets you do a little bit more. People have sort of forgotten storylines, and there's nothing new under the sun. As long as you put your original spin on it, that's all that matters. And I think they did a pretty good job this episode. However, come on now. Lance going to trial with someone who doesn't want to press charges. It's kind of silly, but if this is what they need, this is what they need. I posed a question a couple episodes ago about whether or not I should truck on down to Dallas and have a weekend, have myself a good old country time at the South Fork Experience. It is a weekend in August where the cast of the show, the original cast of the show, is going to be on site at the actual ranch. Lucy will be there, Mitch will be there, Bobby will be there, Sue Ellen will be there, looks like Ray will be there, I think Donna will be there. But then I had to kind of take a pause back because of the way I do this show. If you're new to this, welcome. So glad you found us today. Hope you enjoy yourself here. I've never seen these shows before I watched them with you. I was aware of Dallas sort of growing up in Texas, but I couldn't have told you very much about it. Even less about Dynasty, even less about Knots Landing and Falcon Crest. So that puts a little bit of it puts a little bit of caution in everything I do moving forward. I have to be a little bit more aware of situations as I walk into them. And the consensus from you guys is a little bit mixed. So the one boy is like, yeah, go ahead and go to the shindig. There might be a couple of spoilers. However, if people understand that you're new to the fandom, they're going to be a little bit more receptive. They'll probably be a little bit more careful. I tend to agree with that. And also, I think when you're walking into something and you just don't know, you just don't know. There's going to be tons of people there. I won't know them from Adam. I don't know if they are cast or not. And even if they are cast, I don't know how they play into the story, if that makes sense. On the other hand, Others are like, okay, I've been to situations like this and there's going to be nothing but spoilers. Somebody told me they specifically went to this particular picnic a couple of years back, and that's all they talk about is the story, which I mean is obvious. I guess I knew that. I don't feel like this is an opportunity of a lifetime. I don't feel like I'm really missing out per se, but from what I've gathered from some of you, there's like a lady on here. I'm so sorry I forgot your name. Let's call her Kelly. I'm sorry I can't remember your name. She said that she used to go to these cons all the time, and it was just a wonderful opportunity. She's met all sorts of like daytime stars. It's been really fun. She's met some friends along the way. So I'm excited, I think, most about the community. Actually, I'm lying. That's a close second. I'm most excited to see the Knots Landing girls and Sue Ellen. I think if I could just meet Sue Ellen, oh my gosh. I gotta meet Valine, the Vidalia Onion Queen. It would just be a travesty to be in the swampy North Texas heat and not say what's up to my girl Val. Lord have mercy. I wish there was more of a con. Like, Bravo has Bravo Con. I wish they had a little segment. I'm going to start petitioning Andy Cohen. We need a little segment for the vintage soaps. That's what we need. We need a lot of that. Kennedy says, you really have nothing to lose. I think if nothing else, you'll gain more of a love for the show if you attend. You could get some really cool pictures of the actual mansion. I'm sure there's a tour involved. And at the end of the day, when you sit back home and watch the shows again, you're going to love it even more. I agree, Kennedy. I really do. So I think I might be heading up there. I just want to be careful. My sister told me to maybe look for Facebook groups or just look for groups of people who are maybe a little newer. That's kind of a challenge. As you know, I think most of the people who find my podcast have kind of stumbled on it. I ain't been real great about advertisement. I'll have to change that. But I think it's just one of those things. You just happen upon something, you start to like it. Luckily, we live in the time that we do where you can Google and get a little bit more fan insight on it. But this is going to be fun. I'll have to make a decision here pretty soon. Tia, who is watching these for the first time like me, welcome to the club, Tia. She says original Michael cannot be left out of this conversation. I've watched the other Dynasty, and I think new Michael is equally as hot. With that being said, you also have to include Jesse Metcalfe. Who the hell is Jesse Metcalfe? I know that name. Jesse Metcalfe. Jesse Metcalfe. Oh, okay, there we go. I think I was calling him Desperate Housewives last time. Yeah. That's one of those Lopez Fitzgerald. I can't remember his government name on that show. But that's Teresa's little brother. Miguel was so fine. Remember? Oh my God. If you didn't watch Passions, go peek now. That's Miguel and Teresa's little brother. Gosh, his storyline is blurry. Okay, so I think I said with the male beauty pageant, I'll have to look again. Seasons 1 through 4 of the original, but you know what? I will allow it because how many episodes, how many seasons? Ooh, I'm afraid to look. I'm afraid to look at Dallas because I understand that Dallas is a continuation of the original Dallas, as where the new Dynasty is not. The new Dynasty is just a new story. But yeah, I have to agree with you. He would be hard pressed to look over. I'm you know what? You're right. I'm with you when you're right. Also, God. I do like Michael. I forgot about Michael. I kind of want to bring messy Michael back from season 1 of Dynasty. He was back when Fallon was interesting, but we're not going to harp on that today. He was fine, and I'd like to throw topless Tony in there. Tony is a heartthrob. Now, are they going to win any titles? I don't know. Best looking, possibly. Maybe we need a shirtless category. I got to get my mind right and get back on the ball. All right, that is enough jaw-jacking about that. Thank you so much for your thoughts. Thank you for your input. I take it very seriously because, this is awesome. I am so happy that I started watching these shows. And I'm like, we all need to be watching these. All right, well, let's jump back to the West Coast. Dang, I didn't talk about them at all today. Season 4, episode 23 of Falcon Crest is a little bit of a special episode. I'll tell you why after you freshen up your beverage, and let me freshen up mine. When I rewound the opening credits, I caught the little tail end of it, and I was like, oh my gosh, did I read that correctly? Dude, this episode is called The Trial. We are back in the courtroom one more again to see if Lance is going to prison for attempted murder via vehicular, I almost said manslaughter, whatever. Allegedly, he attempted to run his grandmother off the road. We all know, as the audience, wasn't him at all. It was Florida man, Joel McCarthy, but he's busy at rehab or something. I think, hell, he might have been pushed off the side of a highway, side of a cliff. Last time we saw Joel, he was dressed like Usher. I loved his outfit. He was boarding a plane in the rain, allegedly. We didn't actually see him get on the plane. I kind of get the feeling he's gone. That's neither here nor there. Episode written by Earl and Paul, but directed by none other than the aviator Adonis himself, Robert Foxworth. I love it when the cast starts directing things. I think that's such an interesting pull. I would really like to see an episode directed by Jane Wyman. She could bring some of that old Hollywood glamour and discipline. I think it'll do well. I'm actually not finished with this one. I got as far as a trial. They are reconvening in the living room as we speak. I'm going to go ahead and finish that up and I'll come back. Okay, I just finished watching this episode and I have to say, Falcon Crest, once again, you've done it. You've surprised me. You've managed to keep me intrigued. Did not see a twist and turn, but I think we got something to talk about here. Although this episode is called The Trial, I would argue that Lance is indeed the bit player this episode. So we're going to start off with him. When last we left, he and Lorraine were being sort of bratty, in my personal opinion. They found out at dinner that Lance's trial is not going to be moved further down the coast. They were hoping for something like San Diego, but that's not going to happen. Not only is that not going to happen, the trial has not been extended. They're going to have to go ahead and do this Monday morning, 8 a.m. sharp. So they show up to court Monday morning, 8 a.m. sharp. Somehow over the weekend, it seems like Richard has decided to hire some goons. Although he's not affiliated with the cartel anymore, he's suddenly having more do dirt people. You notice that? Like, he hasn't always had that. Pam has been just enough for him. But on this episode, he has a do dirt guy who basically kidnaps the judge and says, hey, judge, if you want to keep judging, you're going to judge Lance Thompson as guilty. The judge is like, I suppose I can do that with a little bribey boo. Richard's like, I got you. Don't even worry about that. This is all very weird and very annoying to Pam. Pam is like, Richard, actually, no, Pam's not really all that bothered by this. So once the trial starts, Greg Reardon is, of course, representing Lance. But this sort of tough as nails lawyer woman is representing the defense, the other people, the prosecution. In a situation like this where it's attempted murder is against the law of the land. So when you go to trial, it's not Angela versus Lance. It's the state of California versus Lance Thompson for attempted murder. Now, if she wanted to sue him because he wasted her time or like he damaged her car, then it would be Angela Channing versus Lance. So that's one of the reasons this case has not gone away, even though I don't think they have much evidence. The case hasn't gone away is because he broke, quote unquote, he broke the law. So this tough as nails lawyer lady, I really want to compliment her, and I hope I'm able to do justice to what I'm saying. She reminds me of an American gladiator. Like, she's really pretty, but she's tough. She's not necessarily muscular or whatever, but she's in a sort of an aggressive career. She has to be this sort of shark in the courtroom. So there's certain points where she almost looks villainous. Anytime someone is being cross-examined, whether it's the sheriff or one of the other guys on the scene, it's very clear that the judge is allowing her to get a little more leeway than he is allowing Reardon to do so. It's very, very clear to anyone paying attention that the judge has already kind of made up in his mind that Lance is guilty. Now, unbeknownst to everybody, they don't know that he has indeed. They can't prove that he has. And they certainly don't know that Richard is behind this. So as the show goes on, different people are called up to the stand. One of the people up there is a guy named Troy Evans. He's actually an actor. The actor's name is Troy Evans. Google him, and you're going to know exactly who I'm talking about. I immediately recognized him from the movie The Frighteners. For someone who hates horror, I sure have seen a lot. That one to me technically wasn't horror. I love that movie. Anyway, this man has played the exact same role for the last 40 years. I believe he is still with us. In any movie I've ever seen him, he's never been the lead. He's always kind of like some sort of sheriff. Even in his Getty images, he looks like he's somebody's sheriff. Anyway, when he's cross-examined, he says, well, I mean, her car was wrecked. His car was wrecked. She said he did it. That's why I said it. So the woman lawyer's like, okay, cool. Thank you so much. When the sheriff goes up to the stand, he says, well, I mean, she said he did it. Her car was wrecked. His car is wrecked. He's literally the only person in the valley who drives that car. I mean, I had no reason to doubt. Reardon gets up and he goes, now, don't you think this old lady, for lack of a better term, she was shook? Don't you think she was a little bit nervous after this whole car accident? He's like, I mean, yeah, but also she was 5 feet away and it was broad daylight. I'm like, damn, I mean, okay, yeah, that's true. So about halfway through this show, it is very clear to Craig Reardon that there's the manimal, that there's really nothing he can do. It might be his best interest to take a plea deal. So he meets with Lady Lawyer at Richard's place at the Tuscany Downs. And she is soft and she is sweet. And I don't know why that stood out to me so much. Like, I love that she gets to be aggressive and do her job well in the courtroom without being perceived as a B or perceived as too aggressive. I don't think that's fair. I think sometimes you just have jobs that require you to have tougher skin than others. It is her job to seek justice. But when the time comes, even she's like, okay, yeah, I mean, I feel you. I'm kind of surprised that you're saying you'd rather take a plea deal. But I'm down. I mean, I don't really see any point in dragging this out. Craig tells her he appreciates it. He's talked to Angela. He's talked to he's talked to Lance at this point. And of course, neither one of them want him to take the plea deal, but it just looks better. He's looking it up to like 4 or 5 years, I think, at this point. If he takes the plea deal, it might be like a year, a whole bunch of community service, and he can move on with his life. So the Manimal and Gladiator Lawyer Lady, they talk to the judge, and the Gladiator Lawyer Lady says, I'm cool with this plea deal because honestly, there's no point in dragging out taxpayers' dollars. There's no need to put this through the system. We could really just put this to bed now. I think it's a fine idea. The judge is like, no. This is going to trial. I want to see justice served. Nobody's walking away from this. So there is no other choice than to put both Lance and Angela on the stand. Angela is wealthy. She is old. She has a short haircut, which tells you her temper is even shorter than that. Her money is too long. Her hair is too short to be caught up in this sort of riffraff. So she shows up in lavender with an attitude. They put her on the stand. Gladiator Lawyer Lady goes over to Angela and she says, how does she question her? She says something to the effect of, now, if this jury looks at this evidence and they find your grandson guilty, how would you explain that? And I'm just like, wait, what? That's not really a question. That's like asking if 10 people buy coconut ice cream and they say it's delicious, how do you explain this? How would I know? The lady's like, well, you think your grandson, didn't you say at first that your grandson tried to kill you? She said, lady, where have you been? Have you not been paying attention to this trial? Don't ask me no more stupid questions. The judge has to, keep up the facade. You could tell he's a little bit nervous to talk to Angela. But he's like, man, please answer the question, which is, if this jury finds your grandson guilty, how would you explain that? Wrong thing to ask an old lady who's already irritated. She says, if they manage to find him guilty from this laughable evidence, and they're all a bunch of idiots, period, point blank. So they got to snatch her off get down, Angela, you're not helping. They put Lance on the stand. Remember last episode where I said he and Lorenzo, Lamas, and whatever Lorraine's real government name is, their acting on the last episode was abysmal? I'd like to double down on that. It was quite terrible, if you ask me personally. Which is strange because I felt like he was getting better. I thought he was actually doing well. I don't know what was going on that week. It wasn't a good week when they were filming On this episode, he did much, much better, and I have a theory why. Not only is Robert Foxworth the director, there really is a real life connection between Angela and Lance. IRL, she, Jane Wyman, was his godmother. Seeing a brief little interview where he talks about what an influence she was in his life. He had so much respect for her. He really loved her. That's his godmommy, his she-mummy. In this scene in court, Lance is being questioned about, what really happened that day. He sticks to the facts. He says, I was snatched up. They put me in this gas station. I hung out with this dude. Next thing you know, they bring my car back. I immediately get in the car, go to a payphone to call the cops. That's when I'm arrested. So she's like, so this is the lawyer later asking him. Gladiator is saying, so you didn't run her off the road. You didn't do this. He's like, no. She goes, you know what's funny? I mean, you're sticking to the facts. You would, wouldn't you, if you have them all memorized? This all sounds very, very rehearsed. He's like, aren't you making this up? Didn't you and your grandmother come up with this spiel? The animal's like, hey, she's badgering the witness. The judge says, sustained. Lance turns to her and he's like, I'm really not that creative. Basically, I ain't smart enough to be writing fan fiction. So no, I didn't do that. Judge tells him, don't talk. Sustained means you don't answer the question. I did not know that. Reardon comes up and he asks him, how do you feel about your grandmother? He's like, I love her. I really adore her. And he's looking at her the whole time. Lance is looking at Angela. Angela's looking at him. And the acting suddenly became Academy Award worthy. It's so real. He literally got choked up. I love her. I have so much respect for her. And you look over at Angela, and she's actually fighting back tears. I love this because I think Foxworthy was able to bring a real moment to the screen, and I think that's the only way to do it, is to have Lorenzo Lamas at this stage in his career. I'm not saying he got better. I'm not saying he didn't get better, but at this stage in his career, I think he needed to have a real relationship to make that scene so powerful. Very, very good, but really it doesn't really seem to make no never mind. The manimal is out there sweating bullets. And while he's sweating bullets, Aunt Terry has it in her head that it is time for that horse that he's so crazy about. It's time for that horse to make its rounds at Tuscany Downs. So she shows up with the horse, and she's dressed like new money. She's in blue, I think. Pam in leather pants is no longer wearing leather pants. She's in a red outfit. I think the actress might be pregnant. Now, not that she looks it, and can we normalize saying people are pregnant? Pregnant women should look pregnant at some point. I'm not making a dig at her weight or anything like that, but it's just kind of the positioning of her clothes, and she's always holding something in front of her. I know they do that a lot on TV to kind of hide it. I think she might have been pregnant. I haven't looked it up, but that's my guess. If she's not, I do apologize. She doesn't look bad, but she's holding everything right in front of her uterus. Pam can't stand Terry. Terry can't stand Pam because they both have a little something going on with the manimal. God, this guy is getting by on dimples and an accent because there really is nothing else interesting about him. He's wealthy, he's good looking, he's not very charming, he's not very smooth, and he has an unhealthy obsession with deeds. So Pam comes up to Aunt Terry, and she basically just comes to talk trash, like, wow, are you really putting this horse? I think it's called no small favors or small something. Are you really putting this horse in the race? Isn't she a little bit young for that? Terry's like, nah. She's perfect. Pam says, well, I can't believe Reardon would let that happen. He's usually so careful. As in, I know him better than you do. Aunt Terry hears this and says, that's interesting. I find him to be quite passionate. As in, he's boring with you, but he's a stallion with me. Pam, not one to let it slide. She goes, oh, yes. Well, I was talking about horse flesh. He's clearly not that good at picking out other flesh. So they have a little back and forth. Nothing really comes of it, but it's just, I guess, it was funny. It was funny, and they look fabulous. I have also decided something. Everybody on Falcon Crest is dressed to the nines at all time, and they look so good. Everything they're wearing on this show, I would wear today, with the exception of leather pants Pam. So I've come to the conclusion, I don't like 80s clothing in the way that I remember it, like children's clothing, the neon. I don't like the caricature of 80s clothing, but I am really, really fond of the fashion on Falcon Crest. It seems like if Dynasty is the super fancy, they're couture, everything is custom, I feel like Falcon Crest is like Barney's. I'm sure I've said this before. They're higher end. They might be like Nordstrom's rack. Like you could get your hands on this, but also I have pieces that you can't. They look so good. Specifically, Connie Giannini. We'll get to her. I think we'll save them for last. Let's talk about Bad Girl Melly Mel and Cole. Melissa is so excited that her cousin Robin is coming to town. Remember I talked about that on the last episode? Like, okay, who's she going to hook up with? Where's she coming out of the blue? They kind of let you know within the first 10, 20 minutes of the show. So Melissa is setting up the room for Robin. Cole comes in and they tell the audience in not so many words she'll be here for a couple of weeks. Hope she likes it. She used to call me Missy, but I'm going to tell her to call me Melissa because I'm a grown woman now. And Melissa tells Cole, you're going to be a dad. You're going to be a dad again one way or another. We have a meeting for an infertility clinic. So they go to the meeting and we see Melissa come rushing out into the hallway. Side note, she looks so much like my friend Erica, my childhood friend. I swear I wanted to reach out and be like, girl, she took your whole 2003 flow. She looks exactly like she wears your hair like her and everything. But Melissa comes out into the hallway because she's upset. Cole comes out, the doctor comes out, and the doctor's like, hey, I'm sorry that we had to tell you that you can't have any more babies, but there are other ways to do this. Now, why they don't have this conversation privately in the office, I'm sure I don't know. But I'm glad they have it in the hallway so God and everybody can hear about it. And the doctor says, well, you have the opportunity to have a surrogate. Melissa's like, what? Wait, but if I have a surrogate, it will only be Cole's DNA and not mine. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe in the 80s it was a little bit slow, but I thought, forgive this term, the test tube baby came about in the 70s. Let's say artificial insemination. I really hate. When I hear the word test tube baby, I always think of Robin, what's his name, the black dude from Baby Kids. He used to call everybody a test tube baby. So if you had fertility like that back then, a surrogate is not, a surrogate is your DNA and your spouse's DNA, but just someone else needs to carry the baby, is what I understood. But in this show, they're making it sound like, okay, well, it'll be Cole's DNA and it'll be another woman's, but at least it'll be his DNA. So I'm thinking, well, he can just go out and bang someone if that's the case and have another kid. Why are we paying $10,000 for him to do that? Enter Miss Robin. That's my thought as I'm watching this, like, oh, okay. So Melissa's cousin, who showed up out of the woodworks, they're thick as thieves, they're besties, they're the same age. It would be at least some of the same DNA. If they're cousins, they share, at least a quarter of the same DNA. This could work out in their favor. Okay. Melissa warms up to the idea. She doesn't bring up Robin. This is me, Jet, bringing up Robin. But she warms up to the idea, like, okay, I can live with at least you having this kid being at least yours genetically. So they have to have a meeting at Melissa's house with someone else from a different agency who would, I suppose he would place a place a woman in their home to carry the baby. He is judgy wudgy. His last name is Bitter, and he is a bitterish. Little Joseph comes in with the nanny, and Joseph comes in there like, hey, this is my house. Who this? New dude, who this? The guy's like, hi, I'm Mr. Bitter. Joseph's like, that's a weird name, and immediately starts looking at the guy's briefcase. Now, I don't know if the nanny was winded and she was just catching her breath, or she didn't really like to get onto Joseph in front of his parents, because she's letting him do whatever he wants. Melissa and Cole are like, hey, nanny, we're paying you paying you to nan. Get this kid on out of here. So Joseph leaves, and Mr. Bitter's like, oh, so who's that? Oh, that's Joseph. That's my son. So he goes, oh, Melissa, so that's your kid, but not Cole's. Cole's like, no, he's both of our kid. Oh, okay, that's weird. Well, this marriage license says you've only been married 2 weeks. Oh, well, we had him before. You had him before? So did he live here? No, well, Cole goes, well, yeah, he lived with me. He's lived with me for a long time. And Mr. Bitters looks at Melly Mel like, oh, but he didn't live with you. She goes, yeah, he lived with me. He lived with me at first, but he didn't live with me. Whatever. He lived with me first, and he lived with his dad. Now he lives with both of us because we live together. Mr. Bitters was like, oh, okay, well, I guess it's the 80s. Super judgmental. He comes to the conclusion that neither Melissa nor Cole are responsible enough to raise a child. Mind you, they have a 4-year-old baby genius walking around the place. But they are unstable, in all that they do, and unfortunately, they're not going to be able to use that particular agency. By the end of the episode, we see cousin Robin. Now, this makes me, y'all listen to this. Watch it, actually. I'm watching it on Amazon Prime, season 4, episode 23. Cousin shows up. Whoever I was picturing, this girl looks the exact opposite. She looks nothing like I pictured. Cole opens the door, and I swear they have a moment. I swear they have a moment. Melissa comes screeching down the hallway. She's like, twin. They're so happy to see each other. By the way, girl, call me Melissa. I'm grown now. I'm trying to be grown and sexy. Cousin Robin's like, okay, cool, Melissa. Melissa says, how long you gonna be here, cuzzo? Well, I quit school, so I'm gonna be here long enough. Don't tell my parents. She says, I ain't telling nobody. I'm gonna tell nobody nothing. She starts heading upstairs. Cole starts coming downstairs, and he looks again. So I want to make this clear. They definitely made eyes at each other at the door, but she's the one making the lingering eyes going forward. He's still looking. Like if he's at 15%, she's definitely at like 60%. So we'll have to see what happens with cousin Robin. Is she another bad girl? We do need another bad girl on the show. We're down one since Terry can't really make up her mind. Terry is so quick to be used. It is what it is. The other newbie on the show is new girl Cassandra. Cassandra owns the ad agency, right, that Richard is using. At the top of the show, there is a meeting between Richard, Cassandra, I'm calling him Riker, I can't remember his name on the show, Duke or Daryl, whatever, Riker from Star Trek, the Manimal, and Chase. Now Cassandra has this whole plan. She's like, now I'm doing one thing for Richard's brand, but I think for Falcon Crest, it's got a little more history. The heritage is very rich in this valley. I think we take the snob route. We're going to go a different way. This will be the more elite upper echelon of wine. It'll be a little harder to get. We want to go ahead and push that narrative for this version. And I guess the thought process behind this is that if Francesca wine does well and then Falcon Crest does well, it doesn't really matter because it's all kind of under one umbrella. I think Richard is mostly into this because number one, he does want to sell wine, but also he's attracted to Cassandra. So attracted, in fact, that he does what any red-blooded, perfectly sane, milk-drinking, toy soldier playing with grown man does. And he runs a background check on her. Invites her to dinner, and she's like, oh, if you keep this up, we might be able to mix a little pleasure with this. Well, he's like, I did a little digging into your past, and I couldn't really find anything. Mind you, we don't know a lot, but we know that she and Riker are actually siblings, even though they're pretending to just kind of be business partners. Riker is making a move on Emma, and it is very easy. She has fallen all over herself with him. I don't blame her. I prefer him with the beard, but I get it. He's super tall. He's very charming. He's good looking. So his plan is he's going to get with Emma to get closer to Angie. Cassandra, although she was playing coy, that's also her plan, but with Richard, to get closer to him. But now that he's digging into her past a little bit, she has to put the pedal to the metal and move this relationship forward quicker. That was her brother's concern. Riker's concern is that whatever secret they're sitting on, their mother seems to be alive. They want to exact revenge on Angela for something she did to their mother. But the longer they take, the more likely they are to be found out. The other little part is that, I'm wondering what that's going to be. We've already had a random sister come out of the woodworks with Francesca. We have Richard being the long-lost brother that's shown up. Terry is a sister that showed up. Both of Maggie's parents have shown up. And now Melissa has a cousin. So I don't know who their mother could be or how she's going to fit into the story. Last but not least, we got to talk about Director Boy, the aviator Adonis. At the top of the show, he and Connie Giannini are walking. They're like at it could be an apartment building. It could, I'm assuming it's some sort of workspace, but it's just like 3 stories high. They're on the top rung. They're kind of walking down, and it's just an opportunity for Connie to tell Chase that she read through her father's diary last night, and there was so much in there about him. She feels like she learned so much about Chase and her father. Now, I thought immediately my heckles are up. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Miss Connie, what are you trying to do here? I don't see a lot of lingering. She is kind of looking at Chase with a lot of admiration, but I I can't tell if she wants him like that. I kind of think she does. She didn't really do anything in the episode that leads me to believe that, other than this random conversation and sort of a few lingering looks. I feel like she's trying to slide in there with Chase. And dare I say it, I think he kind of likes it. I don't know what it is about the Giaberti men this episode, but they are looking out of the side of their eye at the women folk of the valley, who are not Maggie and Melly Mel. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. I'm learning so much about you and my father, and I'm feeling so overwhelmed. So Maggie is busy this episode. She does kind of meet them at the foot of the stairs. She and Connie go to have coffee with some random lady, and Maggie's busy reporting on the trial. At one point, Chase comes down to the courthouse as they're, I guess, on a recess, and he says, "Hey, Mags, what do you think about me hiring Connie for her champagne expertise?" This is going to piss off Angela so bad. But Mag is like, "Yeah, I think that's an awesome idea. Let's go ahead and let's pull the trigger on that. We'll invite her over to dinner and see if she wants to do it." They invite her over, and she's like, "Absolutely. I mean, I'm way more comfortable with champagne than I am wine. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and jump in." She's all calling Chase, "You're the boss, da, da, da." Chase gets it in his mind after one of his homeboys one of his old pilot homeboys call, and says that he is in town. Chase says, "Okay, well, let's go out to dinner. Me and my wife Maggie will take you out." Well, he doesn't know that Maggie has already invited Connie over for a separate dinner at the house. So he's about to pick up the phone and call his friend and say, "Hey, I'm so sorry, I need to reschedule." When Maggie's like, "Hey, why don't we hook them up?" He's like, "Oh my God, that's the best idea ever." So he calls his friend and he says, "Change of plans. We're not going to go to a restaurant. We're going to cook here for you. Or my newly acquired wait staff is going to cook for you here at my house. Come over to Falcon Crest, past the big mansion. We are the little castle on the left. It'll be a great night." Well, the guy comes and Connie's already there, and he's perfectly nice. He's just a little too loud, a little too... Where Chase is smooth, this man is not. He is 100% in his dad joke era, having the time of his life, just talking and catching up with his old war buddy. And it's pretty clear that she's not into him. I think she's not into him because she's into Chase. I think that's pretty much it. I hope you have enjoyed this episode as much as I did. It's a little slow, but I'm first and foremost, shout out to Robert Foxworth for directing this episode. I think he did pretty good. Lance's acting improved significantly from the last time we saw him. I'm trying to think, was there anything else? Pam gets pissed off at one point because I guess she feels like Richard is treating her like a wife, but not really, like picking up his laundry and crap. She's trying to tell him to stop being such an idiot to Lorraine, like you're losing something important. He ain't trying to hear it. She does knock over his little toy soldiers. He's becoming more and more peculiar as this season goes on. I don't know. I wonder if he's on the verge of a psychotic break or if he's about to up his villain ante. Kind of seems like it. Alright guys, that's it. That's all for this episode. Thank you for joining me for the Adulthood feature. I hope you enjoyed yourself. Remember, you can send me a text, check the show notes. You can always send an email to soaplorepodcast@gmail.com. That's soaplorepodcast@gmail.com. Stay hydrated, stay moisturized, mind your own business, and keep all of your drama on TV.